Why, hello there. Welcome to today's video. My name is Juli, and today we're going to do a card that is a tone-on-tone card, white on white on white on white. And we're going to use a background which looks like bricks, and we're going to use some ribbon and some embossing. Now, to start off today, I'm just going to use some of the Michaels Recollections cardstock, 165, 176 GSM. And it normally comes in packs of 50. As you can see here, I'm mostly done mine. And this is what I'm going to use along with another Recollections stamp, also from Michaels, saying congratulations. Now, I'm not a huge fan of the little stars that you can see here. That's not really what I want for this particular card. So I'm actually going to mask it using some of this 3M Scotch tape. Now, it is a really sticky tape, so it's not that great to use necessarily directly on the paper itself, but for this particular purpose it does work quite well. When I want to use it on paper, I usually will kind of use it on my pant leg first and pick up some lint. So here I am covering my my stars on my stamp, making sure that that's nice and sealed so that I can use my ink on it and not have those appear. So I'm going to use my VersaFine Onyx black ink. It's a pigment ink, and I find that it works really well to give a nice coverage in terms of the inks. What it won't help you do, though, is to remember that you need to take the masking tape off before you do the stamp. And also to remind you that you need to make sure that you put enough pressure on both of the edges of the stamp to make sure that it's fully stamped. And also to make sure that when you do the masking, that you cover all the parts of it. So that will lead you to needing to clean your stamps off and start all over again. And after my demonstration of crafting bloopers, you get to see now what it is, how it looks when it is done correctly. And here we go, nice and firmly stamped, and congratulations. Now there's round one. And I also like to do a second one, sometimes even a third one when I'm doing this, just to make sure that I have enough in case I make any other mistakes, or just have a couple of extra spares. In this particular case, I will use this second one for a card that the video will probably come later time next week. Anyway, insert children cheering here, and on we go. So I'm using a Paper Studio Craft Punch. Maybe you have one of these like this somewhere in your craft stash, and I find it really useful for tag making. At some point I'll probably switch over to dies, but at this point this is what I've got in my stash and this is what I'm using. Here is also a Paper Studio embossing folder. That's what I'm going to use for the background in a brick pattern. And I've done the embossing here, and I'm trying to decide in this one whether I'm going to use the debossed side or the embossed side. And in the end, I went with the embossed side. I've got some ribbon, also from Michaels, 360 ribbon. I have a ton of this stuff left over from when I had my crafting business on Etsy, and so here I am just trying to use some of it up. I did some for the Christmas cards, and I really liked this white tone on tone, and so I decided to make one for my welcome to your new house card for my friends. This right here is some Sookwang double-sided adhesive. I believe this is the 3/8 size. I really like this stuff, like really like this stuff. It is heavy duty, so I find it really good for attaching ribbons onto different projects. It will make your ribbon stay like nothing else, but it is really sticky, so once you've got that down, it's very rarely coming back up. So I put it here halfway down my my project, and I'm ready to attach my sentiment. Now, at this point in my crafting journey, I am more than happy to use this 3D double-sided adhesive that I'm pretty sure I picked up at the dollar store. It's got lots of little circles in it, and I find it useful to both use the circles, but then also to use that kind of surrounding border stuff and just plunk it down as much as possible and use all of it up as I can. You can see here I go back in to go and grab some of the little dots, and they're really helpful for just filling in those little spaces, especially on a sentiment like this, on a punch like this that's got small spaces that may not really work well with something that's more squared, and you want to make sure that it stays up and upright and doesn't get squished in the mail. So this is what I use for that purpose. But it also means that you have to take off a lot of little dots from the adhesive. Here I am putting this particular sentiment in the middle of the card, both centered from the top to bottom as well as centered from side to side, and pushing down just a little bit. I decided that using my ribbon roll was probably the best way to go there to make sure that stayed down. Fiskars makes my handy dandy paper trimmer, and in this particular case I'm again using the Recollections white cardstock in order to make my card base. 5.5 inches in the one direction, and it is going to be 4 and 4. So I remembered this is the short trimmer and I needed to cut off the end instead, and so I'm going to take 1/2 inch off that 8.5 by 8.5 piece and side. Now I picked up the wrong piece of paper when I did this, and you'll see here it's at 8.5, and I'm about to score at 4 1/4 because I think 8.5 divided by 2, but really here score at 4 because this was my mistake, which I realized after I had folded it and put down the piece of paper, and you'll see that in a moment. Anyway, use your bone folder when you're going to fold things like this because it'll give you a nice crisp fold. And if you can't use a bone folder, then you will find that a pair of scissors that have kind of a long angle to them will work really well for that too. Now here's where I realized I made the mistake. Once I went to go put my card down, that I had too much on the bottom and I needed to go back and trim it off. But that's okay because it was an easy mistake to fix, and that's just because I picked up the wrong piece of paper when I had divided it into 2. And now it's going to be the right size. There we go. The next part of my process is to go back to that Sookwang tape and to stick it around each of the sides of my base. And I like to put it around the edges and then also a bit in the middle, as I'll show you in a moment. And I kind of make these tabs with it after making sure that, of course, that it's stuck really well, because this stuff is the sticky stuff. I like to make these tabs along the side, and that allows me to be able to set it up onto my cardstock, onto my card base, and put it down in the exact right spot. So here we are making those tabs there, and a little bit in the middle so that it can be sticky when I put it down and won't move after I have it into place. Take my card base. Always make sure that you check to see which side your card base is opening. Many a beautiful card has been ruined by not double checking that. And here you can see I'm lining it up, and I take my tab out, press it down once I have it in place here, and I'm able to take those tabs right out, press it down a little bit more there, pull it out, press it down, and then it's exactly where I want it to be and completed. And you can see I went with the embossed side, and just how those beautiful bricks and kind of that braille pattern almost stands out on the white on white tone, along with a little bit of shimmer in that ribbon. What I like about these white tone on tone cards is you can use almost anything in your stash to make that happen. You've got white ribbon, off it goes. You've got nice embossing folders, you can use that too, and just about anything that you have to do this particular kind of design, and is good to give to pretty much everybody. And that is our card for today. I'd like to thank you for joining me. Please consider liking this video and subscribing to my channel. And lastly, that you find joy in card making and community in card giving.